What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos. Before we get started today, take a look in the description box down below at our LinkTree. It's going to take you to our affiliate codes for your playmat and loot crate. If you guys are into custom card sleeves, custom playmats, and even custom foil playmats, feel free to use our code at checkout for 10% off of your order for all of your custom needs. If you're also interested in a mystery subscription box model, feel free to use our code at Loot Crate for 15% off of your monthly subscription. With that being said, let's dive right into what just happened. So today is October 15th, and we had a lovely post from Bandai today on their Facebook page in regards to our future ban lists. I'm going to post the cards that we're going to be talking about on the screen for you guys now, and we'll just kind of go over Bandai's philosophy as to why all of this happened. So, Dragon Ball Super Card Game post on Facebook. Greetings, Dragon Ball Super Card Game fans. Thank you for your continued support of the Dragon Ball Super Card Game. As always, we continue to constantly monitor and evaluate the state of the game to ensure a healthy and competitive gameplay experience. Through continued testing, observing tournament results, and community feedback, we have concluded that additional adjustments are necessary to facilitate what we believe will lead to a fresher, more diverse metagame and an even better version of the Dragon Ball Super Card Game. For the release of Saiyan Showdown, we're adding 1 card to the banned list and 7 cards to the errata card list effective November 1st worldwide. So 7 erratas. That's going to be interesting. But obviously, we're all here to see what's on the ban list. So obviously, and I you know, I'm going to be probably chuckling a lot in this video, but it's not just because of the hilarity of everything. It's just the sheer and utter nervousness for the rest of the community as to what their reactions or what their thoughts are going to be in relation to, you know, Bandai's thoughts. But they're banning Violent Rush Bojack, and here's why. The presence of this card creates additional energy that any blue-yellow deck can utilize for strong defensive plays at a minimal cost. We predict this card to become over-centralizing in the upcoming and future formats. So we've decided to ban it to encourage exploration of new strategies. So let's take a look at Violent Rush Bojack, shall we? He's a 7-cost blue-yellow multicolor card. He's a 1-cost 10k combo. He's a 20k attacker. Energy Exhaust Barrier unique, okay. Aegis for blue-yellow, so if you discard a blue-yellow, you can untap 2 energy. Once per turn is the Aegis, and then for you can arrival him for a yellow, so if you have a blue-yellow in combo, you can tap 1 yellow and play him. And then auto, when this card activates its Aegis blue-yellow skill, you can draw 1 card. So basically what this guy does is he allows you to untap 2 energy by pitching a multicolor card, which is probably going to be dead in your hand at that point, unless you're using it for energy. It allows you to draw a card and untap 2 energy. So you're essentially going +2 in this interaction, but the big thing is that you're getting energy back, and the biggest culprit of this strategy is a deck that doesn't utilize a lot of energy to make its plays, right? You know, we're talking about Kid Gohan Icarus here. You know, a lot of their stuff is very cheap. You know, they don't really use energy to the point where they're backing themselves up into a corner. And Violent Rush Bojack, you know, shout out to Joey Palladino. You know, he was the first person to really, you know, break this deck, and like this is his brainchild. So I'm sure, you know, he's dying slowly on the inside. I'm sure we'll get his thoughts later today as well. But it kind of made it a very efficient strategy for yellow, which hasn't always been the greatest in energy efficiency, because you're mixing in that blue, you're allowing access for Senzu Bean. So a deck that's already making efficient plays, being able to untap energy and continue, it's just really good, right? So the problem, I shouldn't say problem, the concern that Bandai has is, you know, they're future-proofing, right? Like, they have to be very careful what they bring out for blue or yellow or both, you know, moving forward. Obviously, we're getting all that U6 stuff in set 15, so Violent Rush Bojack probably would have been a huge boon for that deck as well. So you just kind of have to move on. I don't think it was it's kind of tough. It's 50-50, right? I don't think banning Bojack was a bad call, but I also don't think Bojack was toxic or like broken in the sense that it kind of like it's not like, you know, Mecha Frieza, Super Shenron. It's not on that level, I don't think. But I understand why they did what they did. And it's going to be interesting to see how Blue Yellow adapts, right? Like, is Gohan Kid Icarus still the main leader? I mean, he still draws a crap ton of cards, so he might still be the good leader for that. But it's just nice being able to untap 2 energy now. We go back to things like SS3 Goku leader, you know, untapping energy at the end of the turn and allowing you to kind of play very cavalier and not have to worry about, you know, manipulating your energy or tapping out. You know, it kind of gave you it kind of rewarded you for misplaying, so to speak. So I guess, you know, I can understand the frustration if you're playing across from a Gohan Icarus and they're just constantly Aegis and Violent Rush and all that stuff. I get it, but, you know, I would have been okay with Bojack just getting the limit to 1 instead of getting outright banned, because I still feel like it's a good card for the archetype or like that playstyle to have. And if you can deal with it, like, obviously him having barrier is an issue because it's tough to deal with barrier cards, but there is a lot of barrier removal in the game right now, and there's probably more coming out in the future, but I digress. Having to deal with him is just kind of annoying, and for your opponent to just slap another one down on the board for just 1 yellow energy, right? It's so cheap to bring him out. So I feel like the better move would have been limiting him to 1, but you know, it is what it is. I don't play blue yellow, so it doesn't affect me on a personal level. But, you know, I can understand Bandai's philosophy behind it. The next thing they did was they talked about their erratas. So they actually errata'd Zamasu the Eliminator, which is a card, it's a promo card. We just recently got it. It's a blue-yellow counterplay. Let's take a look at this card pre-errata. So it's a 2-cost blue-yellow Zamasu the Eliminator counterplay. 1-cost 10k combo, 5k attacker, energy exhaust, indestructible. Counterplay, play this card, and if the card being played has energy cost 4 or less, return to its owner's hand instead. Permanent, if you have another blue-yellow multicolor card in your energy, negate energy exhaust. That's really good. Auto, when this card is played, you can draw a card. You can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. So it's a really good card. Obviously, the major thing with Zamasu is the effect of being able to answer unisons, right? Like if you're tapping 4 for your unison, he's just going to bounce it back to your hand, which is super powerful. So post errata, let's see what we got here. Zamasu the Eliminator, post errata text, counterplay, play this card, and if the battle card being played actually costs 4 or less, return to his own hand. So they're taking away the interaction with unisons and just strictly making it a battle card counterplay. Let's see their reasoning behind it. This card's unique ability to stop unison cards from being played has proven more disruptive than originally intended and limits viable strategies. We've decided to errata this card to only affect battle cards in order to bolster the amount of viable competitive decks and player enjoyment. So there's a lot of fluff there. Basically, you know, at the end of the day, the reason Zamasu the Eliminator got errata to remove unison interaction is because of Spirit Boost, right? Spirit Boost is the new mechanic that's being introduced in this last couple of sets. You know, it is part of the big Unison Warrior block, but this is our second set going in with Spirit Boost now in set 15. And if Spirit Boost is a very fringe mechanic, and I think Bandai just really wants to push that mechanic into the forefront. And with that being said, you need a unison to stay on your board in order for you to utilize Spirit Boost, right? So how do you stick a unison? You stop stuff like Zamasu the Eliminator. So I just see it as a move. I see it as a philosophical shift into Spirit Boost is here to stay. We're going to keep Spirit Boost in mind when developing cards, which is fine. Like, I personally enjoy Spirit Boost as a mechanic because it gives your unison utility, right? Like, some of these unisons are so powerful in what they do, you know, being able to add markers or draw cards or like, they're just so powerful. It's like an extension of the game for you. And giving it that tool to kind of, you know, forward your game state is really nice. You know, instead of just sticking a unison on board and just letting it run out of control with markers, now you have something to do with those markers, right? So I enjoy the Spirit Boost mechanic. The problem I have with the Spirit Boost mechanic is that it's heavily reliant on the unison sticking on the board. And when you have answers to it like Zamasu the Eliminator, it is tough to push that mechanic forward and get everybody on board with its you know, legitimacy, right? So I just strictly see this move as being what's the word I'm looking for? It's like I'm pointing you in the direction of the design philosophy, right? Spirit Boost is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Whether you like it or don't like it, that's completely, you know, your opinion. You have the right to that, but we're not out of Spirit. Like, Spirit Boost is going to be around for a long time. So getting rid of Zamasu just kind of helps your unison stick. For those people who are worried about not having unison interaction, I can understand that. Because this one just kind of clears it off the board. There are other cards in the game that interact with unisons. You have a Piccolo that came out in set 12. That's for 2 energy. Puts the card in, you know, negates the skills of a unison when he's played. It's not a permanent solution, but if your opponent's tapping 4 energy for Boo, and you slap that Piccolo on the board, he's not drawing and he's not untapping at the end of the turn. He's also not attacking you with a 20k double striker for that turn. You have Super Icy Ray, which is an extra card that nobody uses. Also, you're able to interact with cards cost 4 or less. So there are cards in the game that interact with unisons. There are no cards, as of now, that bounce them back to your hand, which is why Zamasu the Eliminator was so powerful, because it just stops the play. So, you know, you have to take the good with the bad. I think moving forward, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot less impactful unisons printed. Like, gone are the days of getting Boo Unison, Dark Broly Unison. Like, cards like that will probably not get printed because they're so powerful and they're so hard to deal with. You'll probably see unisons that are more like utility cards to further the strategy of specific archetypes, which is what they should have done in the beginning. But, you know, I digress. We are where we are, right? The last thing they did was they eroded, and this completely caught me by surprise. I was not expecting this. They eroded Galactic Buster. Galactic Buster is like, you know, the quote unquote, you know, Buster 9 engine, right? You're using Galactic Busters with Bojacks and, you know, stuff like that. Pretty much every blue deck just jams these cards in there and then just builds around it. So Bandai decided to errata Galactic Buster. But before we talk about the errata text, let's actually read Galactic Buster. It's a 0-cost extra card. Activate battle if your leader card is a Bojack Brigade card or a mono blue card, and you choose one mono blue battle card with a combo cost of 1 in your energy. You draw 1 card, then use the chosen card in a combo. If it's your opponent's turn and you use the card in a combo with the skill, you can place this card in your energy from your drop area at the end of the battle, and you can switch one of your energy to rest mode. You can't activate. Wait, what? Switch energy. Oh, okay. So basically, what Galactic Buster does is it allows you to tag out cards that you've charged and use them as combos. In combination with the Bojacks, once they're comboed, you pay X amount of energy to play them onto the board, so on and so forth, right? So the big thing here to pay attention to is Bojack Brigade leader or mono blue leader. So now we have post errata text from Galactic Buster. Activate battle if your leader card is a Bojack Brigade card and you choose one mono blue battle card. So they're literally limiting to having a Bojack Brigade. So you can play the blue Bojack leader or the yellow Bojack leader, but you can no longer use Galactic Buster with a mono blue leader. So they're essentially just making it less generic and making it more tied to the archetype, which I don't have a problem with. Still the same effect, draw one card, switch with energy, yaza yaza. Okay, we can only activate battle once per turn. Reason, this card can be used with any blue leader card to create an energy economy surpassing its expected use. Designed as a defensive tool for blue decks, changes to the banned limited errata lists for UW5, Cross Spirits, and Special Anniversary Box 2021 have popularized this card outside of Bojack Brigade decks more than originally intended. We decided to errata this card to Bojack Brigade leaders only to encourage more creative strategies for blue leader cards. So here's the thing, right? Moving forward, Bandai has to do a much better job in anticipating the power of a generic card, right? If they want to lock something to an archetype, I don't have a problem with it at all. Like, I think the intention of the card's design was to be used with Bojack, which it is, but you can kind of just use whatever blue leader you want, right? But if that's the case, they need to foresee that, and they need to do it from the jump. Because what's going to happen is, you know, blue for a while wasn't doing too well outside of Soul Striker, and now that they've got this Galactic Buster engine, they're doing really well. Look at SS4 Vegeta. You know, SS4 Vegeta was unplayable prior to the Galactic Buster engine coming out and being able to ramp and stuff like that. And now, you know, SS4 Vegeta, which I really enjoy that leader. It's definitely undertuned for sure, and it's one of those leaders that I could definitely see getting rebooted in the future, just because of how underwhelming it is by itself. But the Galactic Buster engine really did help that deck, you know, sneak into some top cuts, which is great because we want that variety. You want every color to be playable. You want every color to be good and balanced. Taking away this engine from SS4 Vegeta, those players I feel bad for, because they'll have to go back to the drawing board to figure it out, which is not impossible. They're definitely going to have to think outside the box and be more creative, but the problem with super generic cards like that is it can get used anywhere. And I think if Bandai wants to make a shift, you know, a philosophical design shift in focusing on archetype-specific strategies, they're going to have to anticipate that from the get-go, and they have to give the player base more credit. I think Bandai just designs these cards and they're like, oh yeah, this is a really good card. You know, they're assuming that they're gonna use it in its intention. No. Us as players, our job is to find the most broken interactions, the most powerful combos, exploit them, and use them to our advantage. So I think you have to give your player base a lot more credit, because this has happened countless times already since the game's inception. We found a broken combo, we break it, it gets banned or it gets errated, we move on to the next one, and it's just a vicious cycle, rinse, repeat, so on and so forth. So I think even though I'm really happy with where Bandai's design philosophy is currently, I still think they need to be a little bit more preemptive in looking at future interactions of cards and giving the player base a lot more credit in finding those broken interactions. So there are some other erratas here. It's basically just, quality of life changes for the new Goku archetype. They need to errata the text on the card to make it playable with certain cards, because it doesn't say like Son Goku on it or something like that. They went into detail, but the meat and potatoes of today's ban list was these three cards, you know, Violent Rush Bojack, Galactic Buster, and Zamasu the Eliminator. Is this bad for the game? I don't think it's bad for the game. I would have done things a little differently. The Galactic Buster engine completely threw me for a loop. I did not expect that to get hit. I really didn't think it needed a hit. I would have probably expected something to happen more to turning the tides, but, you know, for 7 energy, I guess it's fine. I would have expected something to happen to Fu Shrouded in Mystery, but I guess you have to have 6 energy to play it, so I guess that's also fine. You know, and there are answers to these cards, right? Violent Rush Bojack getting banned, I mean, I would have rather it's limited to 1, but I can see the argument, just ban it, you know, because there has been discussion in the community before, like if you're just going to limit a card to 1, just ban it, right? I would have really liked seeing Drum come off of the limited 1 list. Instead of Drum being limited to 1, they could have just given it a unique tag. I think that would have been interesting, because now King Piccolo becomes a little bit more playable because it has 3 extra Demon Clan targets in the deck. But I don't work for Bandai, you know, so I you know, these are just my opinions. But, you know, at the end of the day, guys, you know, Bandai, we can agree or disagree with what they want to do, but they really are trying to give us a healthy game. They really are trying to correct the mistakes that they've made in the past. Look at how quickly aggro was addressed back with King Vegeta on the emergency ban list. So, you know, Bandai has its finger on the pulse of the community. They do listen. You know, they do take everything into consideration. They do listen to the polls and stuff that they put out. So, you know, at the same time, though, it's great to use your voice when something is wrong, right? And I might get a lot of flack for this, but I feel strongly about it, so I'm going to share it. It's great to use your voice. It's great to express when you feel there's an issue, right? And it's great that we have Bandai at the other end listening to all these complaints, right? But what I will say, and you know, if you get offended by this, I'm sorry, but I think we have to bring the complaining down a little bit. Like, we're at a 10, we need to go to a 5. There cannot be a ban list posted and then, okay, instead of taking it and saying, okay, these cards are banned, how can we adjust the meta? That hasn't been happening recently. We get a ban list, we talk about the ban list for a couple days, and then we start thinking about, okay, well, what other cards do we need to get rid of? And that's a horrible mentality. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. There's always going to be a powerful card. There's always going to be a strategy that's just better. There's always going to be something, right? It's the nature of a trading card game. There always has to be, you know, your powerful stuff and your rogue stuff or your off-meta stuff. That's always going to exist, right? Where we're at right now, the game's in a really good spot. There's a lot of different variety. I think there's a lot of playable things. Green might need to get a little bit better. So far, the set 15 stuff's kind of underwhelming in my opinion, outside of the Raditz reboot, but I feel like, you know, you're going to see rats a lot everywhere. You know, hand destruction is very strong, but there's a lot of side deck tools that can answer hand destruction. But at the same time, like, you know, we're in a good spot. Like, we have to take everything in and just enjoy the game and stop complaining so much, because the more we complain, the more changes are going to be made, which is going to lead to more complaints. So just enjoy it, you know, just have fun, you know, just enjoy it. You know, if something needs to get fixed, if there's a glaring issue, you know, not only the members of the community, but Bandai as well, they pay attention enough to see it and they'll make an adjustment like they did with the emergency ban list. But just enjoy the game, guys. You know, like, you know, we're talking about cardboard here. We're talking about cardboard with shiny pictures of guys with muscles and energy beams, and like, we're talking about a children's card game, right? So let's all just take a step back. Let's enjoy it. Let's have fun, you know, getting back to locals and getting ready for Nats and all the good stuff. Let's be a more glass half full society or community as opposed to a glass half empty. With that being said, I'm going to get on out of here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and please hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything No Counters, No Combos. We really do appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.